Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. Here tonight, we are taking on the road course at Daytona, a track that I know is going to give everybody fits here in the Glass Mechanic 180. My name is William Tiller. I am joined, of course, by Jake Reeves and Adam Flieger as the wonderful producer here at the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. Jake, it's road course night here on this Friday night edition. What do you expect to see here in tonight's race?
Well, I expect to see a lot of green flag racing, especially here with the road course style of Daytona. Some folks might not really be familiar, I guess you could say, with the Daytona road course, the NASCAR side of it, if you will. Basically, the same thing that like they use for the 24 Hours of Daytona, except they have one little bit of extra blip, and it's right there going off of turn number 4. Got a little chicane right there that's going to be really giving these guys some fits coming off of turn 4, trying to get them trucks downshifted the best that they can to see if they can hit that chicane. But you see the stages right here, 10, 20, and 50, the total of the distance, 100% fuel capacity. Got the 3 green, white checkers if we need them. Total set of tires 3. But we started about 6 weeks ago here at Daytona. Saw a very crazy finish with the super speedway style race. We got some guys up here that could really shake it up and make it real exciting here tonight on the road course.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming off the heels of Keith Bradley winning last weekend at Kansas. But before this race begins, as always on this Friday night edition here at Nazareth Racing, we award the Hard Luck Award winner. This week's winner, Jake, is going to be James Morris. James Morris is going to get that award, and that's from Flieger Farm Paint Shop. We'll talk about them here in just a little while. But it looks like that starting grid is ready to rock and roll as we have Ted Wade taking the pole. Ashley Dotson's going to start next to him there in that 88. Mike Sargent's going to roll off third. Jeff Merrick in that 60 is going to roll off fourth. Blake Lothian that 43 in fifth. Kyle Hess in that 86 in sixth. Michael McKinnon, good qualifying spot at that 13, is going to roll off seventh. Phil Pappas in the 85 is going to roll off 8th. Joey Doucette, the Joker, ninth. And rounding out our top 10 is that Hard Luck Award winner, James Morris.
And then coming with 11th here, starting off, is going to be Justin Lumpkin. Justin White's going to be 12th. He had a lot of playoff points last week at Kansas, so hopefully he can keep the momentum going this week. Got Adam Newton going to be 13th with Ed Osborne in 14th. Got Zach Hartwick in 15th with Jeffrey Sickles to his outside in 16th. Chris Cinnamon will be 17th. Looks like Stephen Gregory will be 19th. Robbie Richards will be 20th.
We look at the animal. Last week's winner is going to roll off 21st. Cody Nahn, that 26th, is going to roll off 22nd. Chris Blanchard, 23rd. Eric Zimmerman, 24th. Hunter Parsons, 25th. Huck Whittington, 26th. And rounding out our field here tonight is going to be Dana Shepard, that 45. Before we get this thing rocking and rolling here, Jake, we had some commentator predictions before we came on air. I like the driver, Keith Bradley, last week's winner in that 29. He won at a road course last season here in the Friday night series, but you have your eyes on a different driver.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at the guy that's starting up there in that second spot on the outside of Ted Wade, Ashley Dodson, that number 88 machine. Talked to Ashley actually Thursday before the Nazareth Dual races for the King of Daytona races that's going to be on Thursdays here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. Talked to Ashley, and he seemed like he was more pumped up, I guess you could say, for this one than he was the qualifier races Thursday night. Obviously, the Australian got a lot of experience on these road courses, so I got my eye on that 88 starting in second. Might not be the biggest mover of the night tonight, but he gets one more spot. That should be enough of should be enough of biggest movers, if you will, for him. Just go ahead and get that win here tonight and lock himself into the playoffs.
Absolutely. On a road course here, Jake, you can attest to this coming off the high banks or the short track racing road course. It's basically you versus the track. You can't worry about schemes. You can't worry about techniques. You can't worry about working with other people. You have to make sure that each time around you're hitting the corners, you're hitting those gear marks. So in a race like this, we really get to see what's a true driver made out of.
Absolutely, and the main thing that these guys is going to be saying to one another, especially in their team chats, is patience, patience, patience. Be careful on these rumble strips. Be careful where the grass is because the guys that can keep it on the track in this race, they're going to be the ones that's going to be up front.
As we're about to get this thing rocking and rolling, it will be Ted Wade. It will be Ashley Dawson taking the green flag into the first corner.
And way down into this turn is going to be where everybody's going to see some serious stack ups. Wade's going to be down to the bottom. Check out Jeff Merrick, the rookie, had a win earlier this season at Iowa. He's going to get turned.
Oh,
Dodson's going to go straight into the grass. Everybody's still going to keep going. No caution on the speedway, but detrimental already in the first lap for Jeff Merrick. And Ashley Dodson still trying to get the truck straightened out in the grass.
absolutely. We're going to check it out here real quick. This is on that first chicane, just coming into the very first set of corners, and you just get entangled with one another. And Jake, we're not even warmed up yet. We're still trying to get comfortable on the racetrack. It's a shame that those two top drivers will have to pay the price there, but they got plenty of more work to do. As you see, there's another driver off course. That's Michael McKinnon in the 13.
Yeah, and very, very crazy little hairpin corner right there, if you will. Very crazy. But going back to that Ashley Dodson, Jeff Merrick, I saw it right here on my screen. Dodson looked like he got a little bit loose. Was able to get the truck straightened back out, and then it looked like either some serious net code that happened right there, or Merrick just straight up lost it and just lost the back end of the truck and spun himself straight out. But looked like some serious net code that should not have happened right there.
Absolutely. Coming into that last chicane, as you spoke about, Jake, this first lap has been filled with action. As you see, our top three have separated, though. Blake Lothian, as we're riding on board with that 43 truck, he finds himself in third early on in this race. Had a pretty good week last week. Jake picked up a win last week, now trying to get a win here in this Friday night series.
Absolutely, and he is trying to get it rolling right here. Lothian doing very, very good job staying right here with this top three of Wade, Sargent, and Lothian as well. The rest of these guys going to be trying to just catch up right here, but you know, well, it's a long race, 50 laps, the full distance. Going to have obviously some stages right smack dab in the middle of this bad boy, but we still got a long race to go. Just got to keep patience. Got to have what am I going with here? Patience and just a rhythm that these guys is going to have to do, especially going around some of these hairpin turns, the transitions from the banking on the super speedway down, especially into that chicane, going into the very final chicane before they get to the start finish line.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Kyle Hess here in that 86. And just like in moments like this, Jake, where you find yourself all by yourself on the racetrack, you still have to keep that composure. You still have to make sure you hit those shifting marks. You see right here, Kyle's doing a great job. He sees the other trucks ahead of him. So it's that momentum, it's that motivation factor as well here at a road course. You see our field's getting a little spread out. We jump back up to the top of the grid, though. We see Ted Wade. It looks like he's just working down into the corners. Finds himself in a bit of a battle there just a little while. And you see into that last set of chicanes very close up there at the top. That's the 41 machine of Mike Sargent.
Yeah, and Sargent was actually looking to possibly get him right there in that chicane on the back stretch, but Wade came down and tried to block that advance. And then that left Sargent. Sargent tried to maybe throw him off just a little bit, jump back up top, maybe try to throw off Wade's braking point. But Sargent doing a very good job staying right on the back bumper. Lothian a little bit far back than them. But Sargent doing a very good job putting the pressure right here on Ted Wade, just trying to get him to slip up just that little bit.
Yeah, and I think here at the high banks of Daytona, it's a very tricky road course. You can get up to speed there on the front stretch and on the corners. Then you have to downshift, get that thing turned, and the chicanes, as you talked about, there's two chicanes before you hit that start finish line, and you'll see right there. That's a good pass, a move up through the field. That's Chef Mark right there is going to get around, and we talked about that. An early mistake you can still make up for here on this road course.
Yeah, and he was the one out of him and Ashley Dodson. He was the one to get back to the racetrack first, if you will. Both of them went into the grass, just trying to get the trucks straightened out. As we got Justin White, he gets spun right here coming out of the hairpin turn. So Justin White going to try to get that bad boy straightened back out on the racetrack. But I'm telling you, a lot of these guys making some very daring moves. Especially here. I mean, granted, folks, we've seen super speedway racing here. This place is going to turn in from a super speedway straight into an ultimate short track, if you will.
Yeah, here in the Glass Mechanic 180 on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. It's myself, William Tiller, Jake Reeves here at the road course at Daytona. We had our fill of high bank, short tracks, medium ovals there, if you want to say, Jake. Now it's road course racing here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. So Ted Wade at the top of the grid. Mike Sargent, you talked about that. He's in that group of rookies that have really just hit the ground running, whether it's in the Monday night series or Friday night series, making himself known in that 41 machine. And you look right there as well, there's another guy in the mix. Blake Lothian is keeping composure up there in those top three. But other than that, Jake, they're separated from the rest of the field.
Absolutely, and all three drivers doing a good job. One thing I wanted to touch base on right here with Sargent, him being a rookie in this season, we see these road course races. They honestly they play out like a super speedway, if you will. There's just most of these guys, they know how to get around a mile and a half racetracks, but we've seen it super speedway racing where it's basically anybody's game. You got guys that can 100% draft and then look into a win, or they're just that good at super speedways. Well, the same thing happens with these road courses. Is you got some guys that may have a little bit more experience turning right than other drivers do. So right now, the sergeant, if you will, the rookie Mike Sargent, doing very well right here and showing us that he um, has some serious skill on these road courses.
Absolutely, as things have calmed down just a little bit, we haven't seen any trucks off the course for a while. Creeping down towards the end of stage number one here in the Glass Mechanic 180 at the road course. Taking a look at Kyle Hess. And, my race pick here, Keith Bradley, he's up 12 spots from the drop of the green flag. He finds himself in quite a gap from the leader, but he's moving up inside the top 10. He is cracked inside there. Last week's winner. And if you look at the run of races in the last couple of weeks, Jake, he could have really gone back to back. He could have won 3 in a row. That 29 machine is just constantly finding himself on the podium.
And there's a reason why, Brady LaBeouf signed him on this season with Mission One Esports because, granted, Keith Bradley winning the championship last season, but, Brady LaBeouf knows, what drivers he wants to sign with his race team. And knowing, that, we got a champion in Animal Keith Bradley jumping with Mission One Esports, Brady knows that and knows that the consistency and the run that Keith Bradley can get on. So you see Bradley right here going to make a little shot right here, if you will, trying to get around James Morris. Morris all the way to the top right there. Bradley going to go up under him. Now he's going to overdrive turn one. Morris is going to be right back to his door. Morris is going to pull back just a little bit on the reins. He's going to let Keith Bradley jump on up there and grab that 8th spot. Knows he's faster. Hopefully he'll see him later on in the run.
A little back and forth there from two great competitors. You also see Stephen Gregory in the mix there in that 61 machine, not a name that we call out a lot here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. He's in the mix right there with the you see right there in front of him James Morris, Keith Bradley. So Gregory keeping in the mix here. 5 laps into this race, Jake, just halfway through stage number 1. And what I'm seeing so far is that you gotta make some friends. You gotta stay in a group here to keep that pace.
Absolutely. And, one thing that I'm also seeing right here, Wells, we've got guys that are seriously making moves, if you will, within the field. I mean, got to, touch base with, right here, Keith Bradley. 21st starting spot where he started. Now he's up to 9th. Stephen Gregory started 19th up to 10th. Hunter Parsons, haven't talked a word about him throughout this race. He started 25th. Now he's up to 11th. And even Chris Cinnamon started 17th to 12th, but got some guys that are a little bit, I guess you could say, losers out of it right now, being Merrick, McKinnon, and Ashley Dodson right now.
Nobody's losers here in the concerns of police, survivors, truck series. Jake, they're all winners here in my book. Right now, though, you do touch on it. There is a huge gap. You look at first through third, 2 seconds. After that, it drops down to about 8 seconds. And then you go down to our 10th position of Stephen Gregory. He's 23 seconds off the pace here, 6 laps into this race. Good news, though, Jake. We do have stage breaks coming up.
Absolutely, and something has actually happened up front. What has happened as Blake Lothian has got around the rookie Mike Sargent. So Blake Lothian jumps up to that second spot. Ted Wade not too far away from him. These three, I'm telling you, these three guys really making it work, if you will. They basically look like that they're on a super speedway, and they're the only three that's getting the draft out of everybody right now because everybody else has no draft. Every single one of them is like they're hung out to dry on about I guess you could say, a 25 lane wide super speedway. That's what it looks like from here. So the top three really starting to pull away, but obviously coming to the end of the stage at lap 10, that's going to pay dividends, going to give out some stage points. And, well, just out of curiosity, this is something that I'm not 100% on. Are they going to have a caution, or are they just going to run it just straight out right here?
Yeah, that's an excellent question there, Jake. From my experience here in Nazareth, we usually just keep it moving, keep it grooving through that first stage. I'm not sure about this race in particular. I'm sure to find that out for you here in just a second. And, looking at that, Jake, there's not many battles on the racetrack to talk about. We actually have Blake Lothian catching Ted Wade now on the racetrack.
Yeah, and he is closing in big time right here. I've been watching Lothian just ease ever so slightly in or closer to Ted Wade. Sargent actually trying to slip back just a little bit, about almost 2 seconds at the line, but Lothian right up Ted Wade's back bumper. So Wade, who has led for a good majority of this race, actually led every single lap, if you will, started on the pole. But Blake Lothian showing a lot of force, a lot of muscle, if you will, starting to put that pressure on right behind Ted Wade.
Yeah, trying to sneak up to the 32 with just the two of them there at the top of the grid. You see Sargent just briefly here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network, but we'll ride on board the 43 truck of Blake Lothian as you see Ted Wade's going to get very, very loose down the exit of that corner. And I got to say, Jake, from my very, very little experience here on the iRacing Simulator, I did try to drive this course here, and there's so many different aspects of this course here tonight. As you see, Blake is going to go up into the high banks here that we're all used to. You got to worry about downshifting, upshifting, timing of your release, timing of getting back on the gas pedal. Just so many different aspects that what you have to deal with in a regular race.
And that's what separates the best road course, or excuse me, the best road course racers from the least best road course racers, if you will. It's like I said earlier, you got guys that this is their bread and butter, and this is maybe one of those races. Like Mike Sargent being the rookie, this might have been one of those races that he might have had circled on his calendar to where this is where he's got a shot to go ahead and get a win and get locked in. But, well, you're right. I mean, you seen right there Ted Wade around one of those hairpin corners just trying to hold on to it for every little bit. Maybe getting on the gas just a little bit too much as you see him going through that chicane right there. Wade slipping, sliding sideways as they come to the stripe right here. Wade's going to have the top, but Lothian's going to be right below him. So Blake Lothian side by side for the lead on Ted Wade, and Wade's not going to give it up. Going to be right at each other's door. Wade almost gets a little bit loose, but Lothian will get the lead over Ted Wade.
Yeah, Blake Lothian, now our race leader, Ted Wade, is with a huge checkup into that corner right there. Mark Sargent now on the back bumper of Ted Wade. Blake Lothian will take us down that straightaway there on the backside of the racetrack. He's looking good in the lead. And, we talked about Keith Bradley, but let's talk about the run that the 43 truck has had lately. Very close to winning at New Hampshire. Of course, he wins in our Monday night series last week as well. I feel like if we're talking about power rankings at NASR, that 43 truck has to be talked about a little bit more.
Especially on these road courses. I mean, we've seen, Lothian do awesome things at road courses. Obviously, winning Monday night at the motorsport the road course that they ran last Monday night. Obviously, they won there. So Lothian putting down some serious lap times right here, starting to try to check out from Wade and Sargent, doing a very good job of that. But yeah, I agree. He's got to be up there on the top of the charts, if you will. Go ahead and try to get him a win here on the Friday night series. That way he can worry about racing for a championship in Friday nights, just like he's going to be in Monday nights.
Yeah, definitely. You see Mark Sargent, though, still holds the fastest lap of the race. And you see you're going to ride on board with Robbie Richards. And you talk about how tough this course is. You see him slip sliding onto those high banks.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job. Every single one of these drivers driving their tails off, just trying to get what they can get. But check it out. I mean, you're talking about Robbie Richards. Talk about the guy that just passed him. It was actually my pick to win here tonight. Ashley Dodson, one of those guys that got into it with Jeff Merrick. He's actually passed Jeff Merrick. Merrick going back around the 16th spot. Dodson looking like he's trying to get up here and maybe get inside the top 10. Got Stephen Gregory right in front of him. But great rebound right now for Ashley Dodson, trying to ease up here. Right here, actually coming to the end of the stage. Maybe even try to get a stage point. As he looks like he's probably going to get it as Gregory gets loose in front of him. Dodson's going to be able to get around him. So great drive by Ashley, coming from about 25th, if you will, all the way up to the top 10 in 10 laps. Awesome drive by him.
Yeah, a lot of time to work with here. That 88. You also saw that Jeff Merrick there. He's working back up through the field in that 60. Both of them were involved in a first lap, if you want to call that their Jake first corner incident here early on here in the Glass Mechanic 180. And you see right here up on the high banks, it's still Blake Lothian leading here on lap number 9. Stage 1 will come to an end on lap number 10. Ted Wade right there in that 32 machine. And Jake, I wanted to ask you there from a driver's point of view, what's the pit strategy like at a road course?
Well, I mean, with the set of tires that these drivers have right here, I mean, they got 3 sets, and obviously you're not going to have, um, a caution, obviously, unless something just crazy straight up happens right here with these road courses. But from what I'm thinking right here, you got it 2 different ways, really. I mean, you could pit right at the end of the stage. These guys are going to stay out, go ahead, get their stage points, and then go ahead and and they just probably just go on in, get them some tires, and dip out. Or maybe it could have been somebody like Blake Lothian. We see him up here hitting 158s, with Sargent and everything else as well, hitting 159. So some of these guys might actually just stay out and run it all the way dry, try to go ahead and make it all the way to the end of their fuel run, and probably even just not even take tires, because I've actually heard and felt this as well. If you just go in and just get gas, obviously the stop's going to be a lot faster. And believe it or not, worn tires is actually a little bit faster than cold tires here on road courses.
Yeah, and just alluding to that there, Jake, a little breaking news here. I'm watching the scoring pylon, also watching the fans watching along with us here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network, and I'm watching Ted Wade. He has slipped just a little bit down the grid. He is down now just inside the top 5. He slid down to 4th. I didn't see the likes of Joey Doucette, Kyle Hess getting around him there on the racetrack. We just saw him battling for the lead. The 32 has lost a little bit of speed here in this run.
And it's because he went down pit road. Well, I mean, he went down pit road trying to see exactly what happened. Yes, he went in and, or he went in the pits, went ahead and got some gas before the end of the stage. So he might be thinking that he's not really worried about some stage points, but still comes out right here in fifth because this field has been so spread out by Lothian and Sargent putting on the lap time. So Wade must know that something's up right here. Maybe try to get the jump on Blake Lothian. Maybe get out here, put some extra lap times on, and just try to leapfrog him.
Yeah, Blake Lothian now with a 2 second lead at the top of the grid. Finds himself now 15 seconds ahead of our third place truck. Blake Lothian's going to take us through the last set of chicanes. We'll see if this race does hit the pause button or if we're just going to keep it moving through stage number one. As Blake Lothian is our stage number one winner here in the Glass Mechanic 180. He just wants to keep that momentum rolling through the rest of this race. And Jake, he did a great job in getting up to the top of the grid, as it looks like we're just going to keep this race rocking. Ted Wade will come across as well. And if this race plays out the same way, it's going to be hard to knock that 43 off the top.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard. I mean, Sargent doing a very good job of trying to keep pace with him, if you will. But Lothian hit a 158.8 that last lap. Sargent hit a 159 flat, so about 2/10 off. He's still about 2 seconds back. He can still see him, which is big, because obviously you can still see the guy that you're chasing. That's just eye-opening, I guess you could say, for the rookie to have a shot to try to get up here to get Lothian. But the big thing, Sargent really needs to do is be in Lothian's mirror any way he can, even though being back about 2 seconds back. Just be in his mirror as much as he possibly can, because any way that you can try to distract the guy that you're trying to race, especially at a road course, that's going to pay dividends for you.
Yeah, talking about some moves on the racetrack. You see Keith Bradley and C.O.P.S are going at it there for that seventh position. Keith Bradley, we talked about his win last week. He's now in a battle. C.O.P.S, another one of those rookies who's been very strong this season. Keith Bradley is moving up the field. Now up 14 spots from the drop with a green flag. He'll take that seventh position away from the 85. And you don't want to let the animal eat up too much space here, Jake, as he's creeping up now on another spot.
Yeah, and that's Justin Lumpkin in the 18 entry sitting here in sixth. Lumpkin almost completely loses it going through the chicane. Bradley able to keep that truck very, very straight. So he's going to get a 2-for-1, if you will, right here in one lap. So Bradley's going to go all the way to the sixth spot. Big time move by him. Joey Doucette just now going through the chicane. Now Doucette's going to go down pit road, as we're going to have guys going down pit road, going in and get that gas, maybe even get tires, if you will. But Bradley going to stay on the track for right now.
Yeah, perfect opportunity to do so, as stage number two will come to an end on lap 20. So if you head down now, you can just keep it moving through that break. As Ted Wade, you see the 32 machine was very strong to start off this race. Faded off just a little bit down the grid. Now currently finds himself there in fourth position. He's going to have fresher equipment than a lot of the field here. Jake will have to see if that speed pays off here the rest of the way. Still, though, Blake Lothian continues to pad that lead now with a 3-second lead on Mike Sargent in second.
Sargent just trying to hold on for every little bit that he can. Good run for him getting that second stage, or getting the first stage for second in the stage points. That's going to help him out big time later on in the season. And I mention it every single week. Will, I mean, stage points is going to be big time playing into later on in the season. I mean, Will, you touch base on this all the time about Joey Doucette not able to make the playoffs, not be able to make that final round by 1 point last season. So these guys, they may have heard you say that over and over again. That's why some of these guys are really starting to run and try to build every little bit that they can to get every stage point that they possibly can. And good for Sargent. Even though he might not be able to win it, from what it looks like, Lothian might be running away with this bad boy. But if Sargent can keep on getting these second place and even a second place, that's going to be awesome for him. That is perfect points for the rookie coming into the night.
And I think what stands out to me, that's a perfect example there with the 16 of Joey Doucette. But I think what also stands out to me there, Jake, is that Joey only had one win the entire season. That locked him in, obviously, into those championship races. And, he made it into those championship races on his points with all the top fives, all the top tens. So even some of these drivers that may not pick up a win till very late in the season, they might only have one win going into the playoffs. As long as you can stay consistent, get those finishes throughout the season, you can make it in and win when you need to. As right now, Joey Doucette is under fire just outside of the top 10. He'll lose some spots there to Robbie Richards and Justin Lumpkin. They'll flip flop once again as the 16 and the 18 are going to go at it for position on the racetrack. And for these drivers back here, Jake, I just touched on it. You want to try to get a good finish. As you see, Robbie Richards is going to get loose on the racetrack. If you can get a top 10 here out of tonight's race, you keep that going to next week. You get out of the road course without a bad finish. I'd say that's a win for some of these drivers.
It'd be a win for me, honestly, Will. Because to be honest with you, I'll just be brutally honest with you. I suck at road courses on iRacing. I always have, and I mean, that's what a lot of these guys are actually looking at. If it, some of these guys might be going into the night, well, if I don't win, I shouldn't have showed up. That might be what some of these guys thinking. Some of these guys just wanting to go ahead and finish 10th, and even some other guys might even be looking, you know what? I just want to finish on the lead lap. Because if I can finish on the lead lap, then I can say that I was on pace, I guess you could say, with the leaders. So a lot of guys having different strategies tonight, if you will. But top 10 for some of these guys, especially like Stephen Gregory and even Mike Sargent, as we talk about him a lot, still sitting about 3.5 seconds back from Lothian. He's still lurking back there. But if he can get second, like I said, out of this, or even top 5, that's a win for him tonight.
Yeah, just a few laps to go here in stage number 2. Blake Lothian has checked out on the field currently with a almost a 4-second lead. And as we have this time to do so, Jake, and I missed last week's race at Kansas. For the folks at home that were just like me, what are some of the things that we missed in last week's race?
Well, I mean, what what really stood out was they had less fuel capacity in that race. What they had, guys had to do some crazy strategies, if you will. I believe it was 60% fuel was maxed out for the trucks. So it kind of spread the field out, if you will, made guys kind of do a little bit of tire saving or excuse me, fuel saving to try to see how far they could stretch it. Guys was trying to save the right front to not start plowing and go up into the fence. So, some people might have actually looked at it and thought that it was a boring race. But to me, as much as Robbie Richards said in his interview as well, it was a hell of a race, to be honest with you, because, you saw different strategies play out, much like what you're going to see tonight here at the Daytona Road Course. Just different strategies that played out, and ultimately, it was Keith Bradley that got the win, but Robbie Richards finished right behind him, made it a Mission One Esports sweep at Kansas last week.
Mission One Esports, one of those teams to watch out for here in this run of the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. And we talked about Keith Bradley's streak here the last month or so. He's on quite the run. Blake Lothian, but now you see a change at the top of the grid. Mike Sargent is now leading the way here in this race as Blake Lothian has head down pit road here on lap 15.
And this is when it's going to be real for Mike Sargent. He's going to have to start popping down some serious laps right here to try to grow this gap, if you will, from Blake Lothian. Lothian just now coming out of the pits, just going past the commitment cone. So Lothian's going to be really rolling right here. He's actually under fire right now from Ted Wade, as Wade's going to come up to his back bumper. Maybe try to give him a little bit of a nudge, maybe just to get him going, but don't really think we're going to have to worry about that, as we've seen Lothian really start putting the power down right here with this race. So Sargent's got to be running some very consistent laps, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Sargent go ahead and just duck on in here in the next couple of laps and go ahead and get him some tires and gas and be right back out there.
Yeah, and that's the craziest thing to me here in this race. Blake Lothian headed down pit road, of course, gave the lead to Mike Sargent. But Blake finds himself in second even after that pit stop. That's how crazy this race was gapped out. Of course, Ted Wade is right there in that 32 machine. Now he has a battle on his hands, Jake. But you see those intervals on the top of your screen here if you're watching along with us. They were pretty gapped out in this race. You see fourth and fifth. That's Hess and Bradley, who's now inside the top five. That's 10 seconds between those two positions.
Absolutely, and that just shows honestly, the speed that Kyle Hess has got. Maybe a little bit to do with Bradley having to start so deep in the field to try to catch back up. That may have a lot to do with it. Obviously, Bradley had to start 21st all the way up to fifth. He's actually the biggest mover in the race. So maybe that's got a lot to do with it. But Bradley clicking down some serious times. Clocked down a 2 minute point 1 second lap time that last time. Kyle Hess actually was 2 minutes point 6. So Bradley inching in closer and closer and closer. But I'm telling you, these guys are really going to have to start putting down some serious laps if they want to have any shot at trying to get up there with Lothian. As we got Bradley going down pit road right now.
Yeah, this is going to be those green flag pit stops. And Jake, what I'm seeing in this window, we're probably going to have maybe two or three of these pit stops. If I had to guess, you're seeing one here at lap 15, maybe see another one in lap 30, 35, and then maybe one last one to end this race out. And you talked about it for Mike Sargent, although he's putting down some very fast lap times at 158 last time by. He's really going to have to build this lead as much as he can, knowing that Blake Lothian's going to be right there.
Yeah, he's gonna have to build it as much. Try to just grow that gap every little bit, and just hope. That's all he can do. We've seen Lothian be very, very, very fast out there on the racetrack, putting down some serious lap times. Lothian just now rolling around right here. We got Sargent going through the last chicane. Lothian just now getting off of turn number 2. So basically a whole straightaway separating first and second. But Sargent's just got to keep putting down good laps right here.
Let's ride on board with Mike Sargent here as he takes on the road course at Daytona. He's coming through the last set of chicanes there on the backstretch. Perfect time to join that 41. And you see he's actually going to head down pit road. Perfect timing to join that 41 there, Jake.
Yep, and it's a long and basically a very, very long and slow road, if you will, on pit road. Sargent's going to have to get in and get out, if you will, because Lothian just now went through the very last chicane. Sargent just now in his pit box. So Lothian really started closing that gap up big time, if you will, but Lothian just now going into that first turn. Sargent's still sitting on pit road. Wade actually got around him as well. So I'm telling you right now, Sargent must have went in there and got 4 fresh tires right there. That's going to pay big dividends for the tires because honestly, I don't think Lothian actually got any tires when he went down pit road.
Now I'm looking at Blake Lothian, Ted Wade, both ran 158s last time by. They're pretty fast, as well as the 60 as Jeff Muirk just ran a 159 on the racetrack. So those three are the fastest right now. Once that new equipment starts to warm up for the guys who just headed down pit road, you're on lap 17. It's going to be quite the shootout here as we come to the end of stage number 2, which will happen on lap 20 here, Jake. And it's really we talked about how this racetrack, you're not going to have that much strategy. For these drivers, it is becoming very strategic with the amount of gaps we're seeing here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, road course racing's got a lot of strategic in it, and you can find, I guess you could say, little loopholes, if you will, as far as the shifting. Try to find a way to shift a little bit faster. You got your braking points. You may have a little light or something that you might go by, one of the green lights that you'll see right here coming into turn 3, that green light up there. There might be one right there at a braking point where you use those, and that's strategic because somebody else might be using something completely different to hit the brakes going into the corners. You see Zimmerman off the racetrack right now, actually gets into Robbie Richards right there. A little bit of contact right there, but that's just the strategic that you got. And like I said, some guys have got loopholes of how to shift. They might even like I do with my shifter going into some corners, I might just go ahead and just throw it straight up into third gear, and then once I lift off of the gas, it's already gonna put it in that gear that needs to go into it, and that might help your car slow down a little bit more, so you ain't got to put the brakes on more. I mean, there's just so many loopholes that you can do to try to be as fast as you possibly can.
Absolutely. As we watch still Mike Sargent in that 41, and I gotta say, when I try to explain iRacing, you see Michael McKinnon, he's under fire from the Joker of the 16 coming off the last set of chicanes. Michael McKinnon will head down pit road in that 13, and it's the shifting aspect for me, Jake, that's the most realistic aspect, because you can think heading into one of those last chicanes that you can downshift right here as you're gonna ride on board with Joey Doucette. You're gonna get this truck downshifted, brake, turn to the left, get everything released in time to get back on the gears, get back on the gas pedal, and any miscalculation or overshift, that thing's getting sideways on you.
Absolutely, and there's three different ways really that you can shift. Within iRacing, I mean, obviously they've got certain aids that you can use to try to use shifting. I mean, even if you got paddles, there's ways that you can do it. I mean, there's the obvious one. There's the auto clutch. That you can use. Basically, what that is basically you just put it into gear, it auto clutches itself. Without you having to lift out of the gas or even use the clutch at all. It just goes straight into the gear as soon as you put it in there. Then you got the anti-stall clutch, which is one that I actually use. Basically, you put it in gear, you lift off the gas just a little bit, get back on it, puts it in that gear. But then you got this one right here. The shift aid is none. That's the one that's going to be really a pain in the tail, because then you're actually going to have to use the clutch, hit the brakes, shift the car, and then still go down through the gears to try to shift them. While you're doing that, you're still using the clutch. So, I mean, you got different ways to do the shifting, and you got to find your sweet spot and find your way to do it. Because like you said, Will, the wrong time to shift or the wrong miscalculation of that shift and those brakes could spin you straight out anywhere here on the racetrack.
And looking at anywhere on the racetrack, Joey Doucette now finds himself all by himself. Ted Wade in that 32, he finds himself all by himself now with a 2-second gap between him and Blake Lothian. Looks like Blake Lothian will sweep the stages here at the road course, foregoing any kind of mistake here in the next couple laps. And hey, Jake, I gotta say though, I've seen this movie before. This is a Groundhog's Day, a Denzel Washington deja vu. We see Blake Lothian sweep the stages, but he just can't close the show. Is tonight the night that the 43 closes the show here in this Friday night series?
I believe so, because we've seen the speed that he has out here. I mean, he's putting down some serious lap times. That last time right there, Blake Lothian, 158.8, and obviously a little bit faster than Ted Wade. Basically, he's faster than the whole field. The key that Lothian's got to do right here is we're coming to the last lap, or they're coming to the last lap in this stage. His biggest competitor right now on the track is himself. He's got to keep himself composed. He's just got to run consistent lap times, basically like we talked about or when we went on the air. So he's just got to be racing himself, if you will. I mean, just be consistent and don't beat himself up on the track. But I will say this: he's not the fastest driver out here, because we just got word, Mike Sargent, last lap 157.1. We're gonna check his lap time this time, 157.2. So Sargent definitely had to take some tires right there. He's closing. He's not going to be able to get the stage win, but I'm telling you, Sargent really starting to put down some laps way better than the front two guys.
And what's your mindset like there, Jake, for the 41 machine of Mike Sargent? You find yourself in third right now. Just came across the radio telling you how fast you are, but you're still 7 seconds away from the leader. What is it like behind the wheel of that 41 right now?
I mean, he's just running for everything that he's got. And, we talked about the strategies that you could do, and obviously that's the strategy that he's going with. He went in and got 4 fresh tires to try to jump out here. As you see him get a little bit loose right there in the hairpin corner. But, he's just running for everything he's got right here. Granted, is he going to be able to catch Lothian? No, he's not going to be able to catch him. Barring something crazy happening right here, Sargent's not going to be able to catch him. But, it could pay dividends later on in the race, especially with Sargent putting down these laps that he's doing. If Lothian and Wade decide to go in early, Sargent with those fresh tires, he can just roll with it and just go. And be able to open up that gap a little bit more. That way, then next time he goes in, he can just go ahead and get gas and should be all right.
Well, folks, get out the Roombas, get out the Swiffers, get out the old school broom and dustpan, because it looks as though Blake Lothian will sweep the stages here. The Glass Mechanic 180 as he continues to just make it a master class here in road course racing. Blake Lothian, our stage number 2 winner.
Lothian comes to the line, gets that stage, and we have a caution on the speedway wheel. So this right here is going to be big right here, especially for some of these guys that was just trying to close up right here. I can't believe it. We're going to get a caution. This is going to be awesome right here to see this restart.
Yeah, stage break here on lap 20, and that actually gives us a perfect opportunity to talk with the driver who is just putting it forth there. He is sticking with it out of Sick With It Motorsports. Blake Lothian, the driver of the 43 truck, sweeps both stages, and Blake, you're just laying it down here at the road course. How you feeling tonight?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I put in a lot of effort and a lot of practice time into this one, so this feels pretty nice.
Now, we saw you there the first 20 laps. We saw a bit of a pitch strategy there. Some guys elected to stay out longer, some guys early. Probably looking at maybe 1 or 2 pit stops to go. Is there a strategy in this race that you guys are sticking to?
Oh, of course, there is definitely a strategy in this race per se. I can't let that slip out just yet, but after the race, it'll be pretty clear what it is.
There we go. And before we let you go, Blake, I posed the question to my colleague, Jake Reeves. We saw you win in the Monday night series. We've seen you very close the last couple weeks here in the Friday night series. Is this the night you get the job done?
Oh, let's hope. Let's hope this isn't an announcer's jinx.
Well, I'm in here, so God help you.
There you go.
If it is, I can blame it on you at least.
That's it, exactly. Alrighty, Blake, before we let you go, with those 2 stage wins, is there anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors that are making this race possible?
Of course, Wings and Wheels on the truck. They're my primary for the virtual world, and they're doing a really big part in the real life world. So we got a lot of big things we're working on for 2024, and hopefully for the last little bit of 2023 here. So stay tuned on all the social channels. And as always, Jeff Sickles for letting me have this opportunity to run with Sick With The Motorsports.
There we go. The driver of the 43 machine, Blake Lothian. We appreciate you taking the time with us, my man, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Of course. Thank you.
That was Blake Lothian, the driver of the 43 machine, Wings on Wheels. It's an incredible new sponsor for that truck. But, folks, we'll take a short break here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. We'll give the drivers a chance to take a break as well. We'll be right back with more action here in the Glass Mechanic 180. Welcome back to the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. My name is William Tiller. I'm joined by Jake Reeves here tonight. And folks, we just saw Blake Lothian clean up the racetrack here at the road course, sweeping both stages. Been a very gapped out race. Jake, we've seen the top three stick together, top two separate, and the leader check out on the field. What are you expecting to see here in this last bit of racing?
I'm expecting to see a dogfight in turn one right here because these guys right here are going to be going for every little bit that they can, especially with Lothian up here, going to be in the lead. So big gamble right here by some of these guys. Looks like some of these guys actually look like they may even stayed out right here. But I see some very hard racing. Might even see some full contact racing, if you will, especially getting into turn one, especially right here on this restart.
Yeah, absolutely. We just spoke with Blake Lothian, the driver of the 43 machine, and he kind of talked about it, Jake. He didn't really want to touch on it too much. There is a strategy when it comes to tonight's race. We saw it play out there in that first couple of stages. But again, folks, we can't have all of this without our wonderful sponsors here on this Friday night series. Most importantly, it is the concerns of police survivors. Of course, we are honored and thrilled to announce a partnership between the Concerns of Police Survivors organization and NASRA here. The COPS logo will shine bright across the live broadcast as a new title sponsor for the Friday night series. Big shout out has to go to Mr. Lee Murphy, whose partnership with NASRA was done all in dedication to his father. All he wanted, Jake, was that logo to be placed on the back of the trucks. We invite you to check out all the wonderful things they do at concernsofpolicesurvivors.org. That's concernsofpolicesurvivors.org. And Jake, our new title sponsor here on Friday night, does all sorts of wonderful things here off the racetrack.
They absolutely do. I mean, everything, for the families, of police survivors. I mean, they do an awesome job, for those families, for those communities. And, I say it every single week. It sounds like I'm a broken record every week, but, we can't talk enough, I guess you could say, about our law enforcement and everything that they do, everything that they got to put up with all the crazy stuff that's happening in the world today. I mean, police officers, getting killed and everything else, and so it's a great deal, to have an organization, come in for the families and be there for those families. And I say it, I say it all the time. I'm 100% behind the law enforcement of everything that they've got to deal with and everything, and I'm 100% behind this organization, for what they do for the families and everybody that's affected by this.
Well said there, Jake. And we're honored to have them on as our Friday night sponsor here. And we're ready to kick off the end of this race. We just about crossed over the halfway mark here. It's been the Blake Lothian show here so far on this road course. And my race pick is still in the mix with Keith Bradley in that 29. And although, your driver, Ashley Dotson, the 88, had some first lap issues, he's still inside the top 10, lingering in that ninth position.
Well, I mean, and honestly, Will, we'll just go ahead and call it the reason why, he's back in ninth, and the reason why he had that first lap incident. We'll just go ahead and call it like it is because I picked him. Folks, for some of you that may be joining us the first time, I'm actually got the commentator's curse. So anybody that I talk good about or I pick, it seems like they just get, in some kind of tussle every single week. But all kidding aside on that, Ashley's had a very, very good rebound, and this restart is going to be really, really big for that 88. I expect to see him roll up through here, barring anything else crazy happening. And Ashley, I know you'll be probably watching this afterwards. If you get caught up in in another wreck, I am sorry. I am truly sorry. You can hook me anytime if you want to. If me and you ever do race, I promise you, you can.
Well, let's check out that new top 10 that we have. Mike Sargent will be our lead truck to the drop of the green flag. Kyle Hess up there in second. Michael McKinnon third. Keith Bradley fourth. Blake Lothian fifth. Ted Wade sixth. Jeff Merrick in seventh, Joey Doucette in eighth, Stephen Gregory in ninth, and Ashley Dotson will be our top 10 for that drop of the green flag as we await the field to come down that backstretch. Jake, who wins this race?
TJ Moore. That's the one I'm going to go with right here. TJ Moore, actually the race control, if you will, here tonight. That's keeping all these guys at bay. I think TJ Moore may have. No, I'm just kidding. I figured,
Good
try to
call.
keep
Good
the
call.
commentator curse away. No, seriously. I mean, you got to thank Blake Lothian. Honestly, I mean, Lothian's been out there really ripping it around this road course here at Daytona. Sargent's been right there. Wade's been right there, if you will. Everybody else just kind of just seems like they've been out in left field. And, Sargent and Lothian and Wade, they've all been right there at home plate pretty much. So, I mean, I got to go with one of them three, but if I had to pick one, I think Lothian gets it done right here.
There we go. We'll watch if the 43 truck can get it done. The 41 of Mike Sargent has been very fast as well. He was in third before that stage break, running very, very fast laps. But here we go, folks. We'll come off of corner number 4. Pace lights are off of the pace truck as we go down into the last chicanes, into that Geico restart zone. Things are going to get rocking and rolling here once again. And we're fired up into the Geico restart zone. Mike Sargent takes us to the drop of the green flag.
Sargent gets a very good start. Hess did not. But Hess is going to try to follow suit, try to jump in. Here comes Keith Bradley, tries to open up that apex just a little bit. He's going to be able to do it. Hess is going to go to the top. Bradley's going to go right around him and get second. Watch this tight spot right here, folks. This is where we had that first lap incident. Everybody looks to be able to get through very, very clean. It's Sargent trying to pull away from the rest of the field as you got a couple of guys getting back into it. Joker's going to go around in the hairpin turn.
Oh, I thought we were going to make it clean out of there. Jake, you got very, very tight, but you got squeezed out of there on a road course as now the field begins to file out into the corners. Mike Sargent, our race leader, the animal now finds himself in that second spot. As an animal does, he was lying in wait for his opportunity. Now, with 25 laps to go, he is right there to try to go back to back here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. You see our top 5 now. Jake getting very fanned out on the high banks.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Keith Bradley got the win last week at Kansas. Very, very emotional win, if you will, for the animal Keith Bradley. Won a race and just took a moment over in 3 and 4, as we heard in his post-race interview, losing a good friend, last Friday, but was able to get the win for that friend. Hopefully he can go back-to-back right here for that friend here tonight at the Daytona road course. And he looks like he's starting to close in ever so slightly on Mike Sargent. So like you said, he's laying in the weeds right here. Actually, a 2-truck breakaway as Bradley closes in a little bit in the chicane.
And I think as good as a run as Keith Bradley has had here in the last month, here in this Friday night series, you saw the same run out of him in the Monday night series last season. This season, he's having a good run. I would say last season was probably better for him there in the amount of wins. But I think you got to shout out a guy who really laid the groundwork on how to stay consistent and staying in victory lane. And that's Adam Newbert in that Ford machine. Adam's been taking some time off here recently, but we saw what that Ford machine can do. If you get one win underneath your belt, then you get a second one, then you get a third, then you just keep that momentum rolling, Jake. It's hard to knock you off the top when you have that lazy boy up there in the penthouse.
Absolutely, and that's something, that I mentioned back in Iowa for those of you that tuned in for that race. I mean, I mentioned it because Phil Pappas was up there running very, very consistently. He was running very consistently last week at Kansas, obviously getting that win at the Milwaukee Mile really paid dividends for him. You look at Jeff Merck sitting here running in 6th. He won a race earlier this season at Iowa. So, these guys right here, these wins, they just pile up, if you will. If they can get a win, they can just get the momentum. Like Will, you just talked about, just get that momentum, keep that train going, if you will. And with that momentum, I mean, you'll get more wins later on in the season.
Yeah, flipping back just a little bit on the last half of that top 10, this is where some real battles are brewing up right here. We have the likes of Chris Cinnamon, Stephen Gregory in this mix, Kyle Hess, Michael McKinnon. These are for positions 6th through 10th right here. Really the meat and potatoes of the top 10, Jake. You know, although their pace might be falling off that of the leader, these guys are really trying to scrape out a good finish.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to try to just get up here, get inside the top 10, actually get their name called. You see
Oof.
Ashley Dodson, he's going to jump down to the bottom right here, try to take a look. He's actually going to get around another driver. So we got a lot of fighting back here around this Chris Cinnamon, Ashley Dodson, Stephen Gregory area. These guys, like you said, the meat and potatoes. Everybody really fighting hard back here, if you will. So we're going to have to keep our eye on that, but also try to keep an eye on this lead as actually Sargent has pulled away from Bradley. Now Lothian right up on the animal's back bumper.
Yeah, Blake Lothian right there trying to get around Keith Bradley there for that second spot, and he'll probably follow that back bumper for a few laps, just trying to find that opportunity. As it looks like we have a truck down pit road. That's Chris Blanchard in that 9. It looks like another one will follow. That's the 84, Zach Hartwick down pit road, and just around the time we might see those last pit stops come into play.
It's very possible. I mean, and it actually looks like Christopher Blanchard had a little bit of back end damage.
Oh,
Not real sure exactly what happened right there, but we got some contact up here. Big time bumping around almost right there. That was Lothian and Bradley. Lothian tried to find a way. He was talking about him following, but I'm telling you, we've seen this 43 has some serious speed here at Daytona. Almost gets hooked into the wall by Bradley. Bradley straight up on his back bumper. He's going to tag Lothian going into the chicane. Lothian almost goes off the track. Here
whoa.
comes Bradley, shoots down to the bottom. Wow, I'm telling you, Lothian might have used Bradley up just a little bit as they was getting onto the super speedway, and Bradley did not like it one bit. But that's going to open the door for Mr. Ted Way to go around both of them.
Yeah, Ted Wade just said "ole" as the two bulls were fighting it out. He just went right on by. He waved as he got that 32 in gear. As the 43 and the 29 continue to go at it behind him, Ted Wade finds himself now in that second position, faded back just a little bit here in this race. Now trying to catch the likes of Mike Sargent at the top of the grid, and this just goes along what I was mentioning there, Jake. At the end of that stage, you started to see that speed out of the 41. He was in third, but we were watching up here in the booth. Those lap times there on that scoring pylon would have put him in the lead. I think there was just too much of a gap. Now we're starting to see those Goodyear Eagles fly in clean air.
Absolutely, 157.2 that last lap. Wade hit a 158.0. Then obviously we got Bradley and Lothian off the racetrack, so these guys might have been. Wow. I mean, we've seen this right here brewing for the past couple of laps. See if we can get a replay, see kind of what happened right here with Bradley and Lothian. But wow, I mean, he just went straight around. Wow, it's this replay is going to be very entertaining right here. As Bradley just straight up looked like he hooked Lothian right there.
That's what I like to call there, Jake. Very mucho caliente, very spicy on the racetrack between those two. It's going to be a little extra crispy down pit road as well. Those two drivers are very, very talented. I would say the likes of maybe like a Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon. I mean, some of the top two drivers here across both leagues. You see them both getting at it, you might have a superstorm brewing between those two.
Absolutely, and it looks like from what we're seeing right here, I think Keith Bradley's actually going to get black flagged, if I'm not mistaken. See it right there by TJ Moore in the chat. So Bradley's going to get the black flag for hooking Mr. Blake Lothian right there. But, Will, we've seen that happening, obviously, for the past couple of laps. I mean, Lothian just straight up used up Bradley. Bradley got around him, threw it into his back bumper going into the chicane the previous lap, and then it was a fire that was burning right there, and they were just adding fuel to the fire, and then finally it just exploded.
Absolutely. And we talked about all the factors that come into this race as it looks now as though the 43 truck of Blake Lothian will head down pit road. Same thing with Keith Bradley in the 29. I'm sure there's going to be some disciplinary words over the radio between these two. As you said, it was a back and forth between the 43 and the 29. Both top five trucks here tonight. Keith Bradley went up through the grid. Blake Lothian swept the stages. But through all of that, though, Jake, with 23 laps to go, Mike Sargent continues to clear the air now with a 5-second lead on the rest of the field.
And he is showing them how to do it. And Wade actually hit a 157.7, actually matching to a certain extent Mike Sargent's last lap with a 157.3, so about 4/10 off. But Wade's picked up the pace big time after he got around Bradley and Lothian after a little scuffle. You see Merck on your screen right here. He had a 158.7. So, these three guys right here, these three guys might be in contention for it. But you talked about Sargent. We talked about him earlier. Sargent, the rookie coming into this race. Like I said, this might have been the track that he had circled on his calendar, and he is making the most of it right now, leading here with about 23 laps to go.
And folks, if you're unfamiliar with the schedule here at the Nazareth 360 Racing Network, we have a podcast called the Hot Lap Podcast that is co-hosted by Tyler Dittmer, who's currently in the top of the points in our Monday night series, and the boss man himself, Brady LaBeouf. And if I could, Jake, I want to introduce maybe a segment of that show, call it Rookie of the Year. With all these rookies between the Monday night series and here tonight in this Friday night series, some of these guys are becoming well-known names, and it's for their performances on the racetrack with wins here in the Friday night series. You got Mike Sargent leading the way here. Jeff Merrick in that 60s, very good. You have Ashley Dotson, who's come on very good as well. So a lot of these rookies have been really taking on the vets in both series this year.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen, great runs out of the 88 Ashley Dotson. We've seen Jeff Merck obviously win at Iowa, lock himself into the playoffs. Obviously, Phil Pappas, another driver that we really want to mention, won at Milwaukee. So, a lot of drivers, a lot of great drivers in the rookie class, starting to show these veterans how to do it. And, that right there might spell trouble for the veterans. Some of these rookies coming out here and blasting them, if you will. Not necessarily wrecking them, obviously, but coming out here and just showing some extra skill. That's got to worry some of the veterans later on down the road.
And Jake, you talk about recruiting here at Nazareth. You sort of mentioned it here early on in this race, the King of Daytona series we got going on here at Nazareth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to be in that race. I was in the dual race last night. The race, didn't kind of end how we wanted it to. We had a, good truck, but, just kind of fell back just a little bit in it and, kind of got hooked right there at the end, trying to catch the lead pack. But, there'll be another dual race coming up next Thursday. I'll be partaking in that as well. And then obviously the week after that, you're going to have the 250-mile showdown, the main finale, if you will, here at Daytona. Pretty awesome deal. So some of you guys that are in the Monday night series, the Friday night series, or somebody that ain't even in this series yet, come on out and check it out. You can get with Brady LaBeouf on that, the owner of Nazareth. Get with him. Get some more trucks out there on the speedway, have a full field when we get the 250-mile main event here in 2 weeks going.
Absolutely. And just checking in on the grid here with 21 laps to go. Mike Sargent continues to lead the way. Ted Wade, Jeff Merck there in third. And for Jeff in that 60, we talked about the things that him and Ashley Dotson have gone through. But for Merck in that 60 machine, he finds himself on the podium. Ashley Dotson in the 88, he's just inside the top 5 as well. So throughout everything, both drivers might be able to secure a top 5.
Absolutely, and they're doing a great job of battling back or fighting through adversity, if you will, from that from that first lap scuffle. And folks, that first lap scuffle that they had, I mean, to be honest with you, it really wasn't neither one of them's fault. At what happened. I mean, I went back and looked at the replay. We showed the replay here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. It was really nobody's fault. It was just some straight up serious net code Some net code that you usually would not see. It's just weird how that all happened. But both of them fighting through adversity. Both of them inside the top 5 right here with about 20 laps to go. They're gonna have to find some serious speed if they want to get up there and catch Mike Sargent and Ted Wade. But Sargent really putting down the laps, fixing to come to the line. Last lap hit a 157.4. That's actually 2 seconds faster than Ashley Dodson that's running in 5th. Sargent at the line backed it off just a little bit, hit a 158.2. So, and here's Ted Wade right here at the line. He hit a 158.3. So, they're going to have to really pick up the pace back there around the Ashley Dodson, Chris Cinnamon area if they want to have any shot at trying to go for the win tonight.
Yeah, and you have some moving pieces just inside of that top 10. Justin Lumpkin currently just outside of Kyle Hester in the 86. Stephen Gregory there in 9th. Adam Newton right there as well. And I'd say, really, Jake, that's our closest battles on the racetrack, just inside of that top 10. And you see right here on your screen on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. And this is the tightest battles we have, Jake. The rest of the field's pretty spread out between positions, at least a second and a half to 2 seconds. But right here, these guys, this is a checkered flag for a lot of these guys. This is a top 10 and a road course. Some of these guys have had some issues, have spun out, have some racing stripes on the side of their truck. To get a top 10 with 20 laps to go, this is where you want to be.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like I said before. When I run a road course, if I can get top 5 or excuse me, top 10, even in a 10-car field, if I get 10th, I'm tickled at that point. I mean, as long as you're able to finish the race, that's a win in itself. But some of these guys, like you mentioned, top 10. That's what they were aiming for here tonight. Just go ahead, get out of Daytona on the road course, and see you next week. That's their game plan coming into tonight. So this is a win for them. I mean, this is a battle for what these guys have really been pushing for in this race. Even Michael McKinnon up here started 7th, running 7th, but we saw him in that first lap mess up, even with Jeff Merck and Ashley Dodson getting into it. McKinnon just completely blew it right there in the hairpin turn. He was back there at the back with both of them. Now here he is up here inside the top 10.
And Hunter Parsons as well. That's a name we haven't mentioned at all in that 25 machine. He's up to 6th. He's up 19 spots from the drop of the green flag. That 25 machine, I just saw his name creep up those NASCAR power rankings as well. But he's just been very quiet with it, Jake. Very consistent, just easily inside the top 5, top 10 every single race. He's not a noisemaker, if you will, but somebody who's just been laying under the radar.
Absolutely, and he does a fantastic job of what he does and how he does it. I mean, you ain't got to make a lot of noise to be competitive and get those stage points. You can be very, very quietly throughout the season and have a very outstanding season, just being quiet and just knocking off top 5s, top 10s, like you was talking about, Will. Some of these guys just worry about just getting those points, just tallying up the points, not even have to worry about getting a win, but just pad the points as much as you possibly can. And then you get some of the guys that's at the top, they might slip and fall down, the grid. So, Parsons doing an awesome job right here inside the top 5. McKinnon, not too shabby himself. We've seen McKinnon be one of those guys that's been, very quietly get him a good finish. So, Michael McKinnon up here running in 6th right now, right behind Hunter Parsons. So good run for both of these drivers.
19 laps to go here in the class. Mechanic 180 on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. Want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this video if you're watching along with us here on YouTube or Facebook. Those likes go a long way. Go ahead and share it as well to your friends and family. We have iRacing action almost every day of the week here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. And Jake, I don't want to fast forward through this series, but Monday night's race, that's the last race of the regular season of the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series, with just about 2 playoff spots up for grabs.
And that's going to be a big race Monday night at 9 o'clock. Everybody needs to tune in and check that out, because then after that, they're going to set the field for the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series playoffs. And, well, to be honest with you, I'm actually going to be in that race. I hopefully, can squeak out a top 10, hopefully not get caught up in any of the big wrecks that this super speedway has to offer. I mean, obviously, sitting here running on the road course here this evening, we've seen some mishaps, seen some pileups, if you will. Seen some action, seen some guys basically want to throw helmets at one another from what we've seen here tonight. But Monday night, it's really going to heat up big time at 180 miles an hour in the draft. And hopefully I won't cause no accidents in that race. I'm just going to try to keep that truck as clean as I can. But I know that there's some playoff spots that's going to be up for grabs in that race.
Absolutely. As you see, Hunter Parsons gets very loose off the corner there. Got a little antsy on that gas pedal. Ashley Dotson creeps up there as well. Ashley Dotson, though, is going to be registered in the 11th position. See a little overlapping of the field right there. Ashley Dotson's going to get very loose on the entry of the corner there. Oh, man, so close there, Jake.
Yeah, and he's able to save it, and both the drivers in front of him able to slip by him just ever so slightly. Wow, I mean, hard save right there by Ashley. He was able to keep that bad boy low down, not get caught up at him. And good drive by both of the other drivers, that being Lothian, and I believe that was Justin White that was trying to get around him as well. So, good awareness by all them, and great job by Ashley Dodson getting through the grass, trying to get it wound up as you can, because, when you hit this grass, folks, it's like hitting ice. You're just going to slip straight across it. There is no grip whatsoever in the tires. That could have been big right there for Lothian, Justin White, and Ashley Dodson as well.
Counting it down here now, 17 laps to go. Last time down pit road, as we're starting to see some of those pit road stops take place. Justin Lumpkin's down, Michael McKinnon's down, and for Mike Sargent, last time he headed down was lap 16 there, Jake. So we're looking at when he might head down again, and if you're in that lead position, you got a pretty nice gap at about 7 seconds. When do you decide to pit here?
I think, honestly, I mean, from his lap times of how he's running, he's been running very consistently right now. He, started out with 157s. Now he's hitting 158s. You don't want to, put yourself in a hole, and pit too early, if you will. But, I'd say probably about the next maybe 5 laps, maybe a little bit earlier than that. If I was Sargent, I'd just go on down, go get me 4 fresh tires, put it, fill it up, if you will, and go ahead and get back out there because, folks, we hear some guys, they may want to try to put just enough to make it. Well, even on a road course, if you put just enough to make it, it's going to affect the handling of the truck. So, and these guys are running on a fixed setup. So, I'd fill it all the way up, especially with Sargent as fast as he has been rolling right here. Just keep that truck the same way that it's been. But to answer your question, well, I see him coming in within the next 5 laps or so.
16 laps to go here in the Glass Mechanic 180, and you see now we're coming to the end of a green flag run. Pit stops right around the corner here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network, and looking at the gaps right now, Mike Sargent at the top of the grid has about 7 seconds on Ted Wade. Jeff Merck finds himself in 3rd, Chris Cinnamon in 4th, Adam Newton in that 82 machine's up to 5th. Blake Lothian, that 43, is trying to bounce back from a little occurrence he had with the animal in that 29. He finds himself in 6th, Ashley Dotson 7th, Hunter Parsons 8th, Joey Doucette 9th, Michael McKinnon in 10th. We look at some other guys there, Jake, down the grid past the 10th position. Kyle Hess is in that mix as well.
Yeah, and Kyle Hess, we saw him, do great things, obviously, here tonight. Started the race in 6th. Actually was out front at the end of the stage, elected to stay out. So, Hess doing a very good job here tonight in that 86 entry for that race team that he is racing with for the BP Racing for Autism team. He's doing a fantastic job right now, if you will. Just trying to go ahead and just be quiet. He got a good starting spot, got him a couple positions right here. He just wants to go ahead and get him a top 10 tonight. and try to just get on out of Daytona and get on to the next week. I know I keep saying that, get out of Daytona, but it's like we talked about earlier, Will. This might not be these drivers, or excuse me, some of these drivers' fortes, if you will, here running on a road course. So, it's like we said earlier, these guys like, wanting that top 10, that's a win for them, and I believe that's the same thing that Kyle Hess is thinking right now.
And I think that goes along the lines of talking about drivers who are already ready to get out of Daytona. Look at the likes of Phil Pappas in that 85. He's currently 15 laps down. Look at James D. Morris. He's ready to get over with this race. Cody Knott as well. Zach Hartwig finds himself a lap down. That's unfamiliar territory there for the 12 with 15 laps to go. You see Justin White right there, Robbie Richards, Keith Bradley. We know why Keith finds himself there down the grid, but as you mentioned there, Jake, a few of these drivers want this race to be over, but I don't think Mike Sargent wants it to be over. Not only is he cruising for his first win here in Nazareth, it'd be the first win on the season as a rookie. And I gotta say, Jake, you take a little newfound confidence getting it done at a road course.
Yep, and like I said earlier, I think that is 100% him circling it on the calendar. This wanting to be a race to where he can make a statement, lock himself into the playoffs. Obviously, Will, I think he wanted to be over with right now, considering he has got that big much of a lead. He'd be wanting the white flag right now and just go ahead and get the win. But Sargent doing a very good job, and obviously he wants it to end right now because that's 15 laps less he's got to worry about trying to make a mistake on the racetrack. But he is putting down some serious lap times. Last time he hit a 158.5. You see him going through the chicanes right here. Does a very nice, clean job of going right through it. Actually got a 13-second lead upon timing and scoring over Ted Wade and Jeff Merck. So, he's doing an awesome job right now keeping that truck very clean, putting down some very good laps as well.
With 15 laps to go here in the Glass Mechanic 180, we'll wait the last set of green flag pit stops as we watch. Mike Sargent is now going to head down pit road here. The leader will head down with that 15-second lead. Then we watch Jeff Merck coming through the last set of chicanes. Does he follow the leader down? He does not. The 60 machine will stay out Ted Wade, as well as it looks to be just our leader down pit road.
And he has got to get in the pits and get out, do everything he can. Looked like he had a very, very good slide into the pit stop, didn't overshoot his pit box in any way, shape, fashion, or form. So Sargent gonna get back out there. As you see that number 41 trying to get back out there as fast as he possibly can. We know that Jeff Merck will have to make a pit stop and try to get back out there on the racetrack. But I'm telling you, barring anything crazy right now, obviously, I said at the stage break, Lothian had this bad boy in the bag. That was before him and Keith Bradley had their accident. I'm pulling for Sargent. Honestly, you got to pull for the underdogs. Got to pull for the guys that you don't see run up front that much. You got to pull for the underdogs, and as long as Sargent keeps that truck clean, doesn't get caught up in anything, I think he's got this bad boy in the bag.
And right now, just awaiting the dominoes to fall. Mike Sargent finds himself in that second spot right behind Jeff Merck, who is just awaiting that green flag pit stop with 14 laps to go. Ted Wade finds himself in third. Good run out of that 32 machine. And Jake, I think you just touched on it there. These pit stops, you already have our leader that's down pit road back out on the racetrack. Now the rest of these guys are starting to feel a little pressure, aren't they?
I think they are. I mean, at this point, you got to go in. You got to go ahead and go on in. You've already seen the leader go in. You got to go in, get your tires, and get back out there because Sargent's going to really start putting down some seriously fast laps right here that could really open up the gap even more than what it was. So, if Jeff Merck's got any shot right here to try to get to Sargent here at the end of the race, he's really going to have to jump it down pit road as soon as he can. He hasn't done it yet. Went by pit road that last time. Sargent really starting to close in on Merrick, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I agree. They need to go down pit road as soon as they can, get them 4 fresh tires, and get back out there.
And if this helps with any kind of calculation there, Jake, I'm not seeing Mike Sargent's name on any of the races up until this point. So not only would this be the first win for the 41 machine here at Nazareth, a rookie getting a first win of the season, locking themselves in. It's his first race here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. So one and done there for the 41 if he can get it done here tonight.
Absolutely, and he's doing what he needs to do to be able to get that done right here. But Merck trying to keep his truck as clean as he can. Like I said, he needs to go in as soon as he can. But good run, for Mike Sargent, especially with now just hearing that this is his first race, if you will, here in Nazareth. So he's doing a fantastic job of what he's doing out on the racetrack. So better, one and done to go ahead and get in the playoffs. That'll be big for that race team and be big for him as well.
Where you have to keep that full time schedule the rest of the way here. But to get that first win out of the way, you just have to stay consistent. You just have to show up the rest of the way there, Jake, and you can lock in that playoff spot. And hearing some word from our producer here in the Nazareth 360 Racing Network booth. And, we talk about all these things, Jake, but he still has to get that checkered flag.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to get up there and get it. I mean, he's got to drive his tail off and get up there and catch Jeff Merck, which we see him now. Merck is going into the pits right now, so the leader going down pit road as we speak. Here comes Sargent through the chicane. He will bypass Jeff Merck, so Mike Sargent will go back to the lead. Ted Wade actually is going to stay out on the racetrack, but back to the front. The number 41 of Mike Sargent, who last lap 155.8, almost matching what he ran in qualifying as a 158.724. So Sargent putting down some heaters here at Daytona.
Absolutely, but you know who owns the fastest lap here tonight? That's Ted Wade in that 32, who's going to wait as long as he can to head down pit road there. He found himself in that third spot majority of the race. That's where he finds himself right now. Actually, just one spot above Jeff Merck, who headed down pit road just a little while ago. Ted Wade still lingering there. Jeff as well. And with 12 laps to go, I think, Jake, you did a great job of painting that picture. For Mike Sargent in that 41 machine, he's got to know that he's got this thing pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, he does. I mean, we've seen the speed that 41 has had, in the first stage. We saw, Lothian just kind of just pull away and just kind of just go away from everybody. And then right there coming to the end of the stage, we saw some serious lap times come out of that 41 of Mike Sargent. Looked like Sargent just really needed to get clear of everybody, get clear of all the battling that was going on, and run his race here at the Daytona Road Course. And now coming around this time, he'll get 11 laps to go here in the race with a Glass Mechanic 180. He's got his own race right here to run now. So basically, he's just got to, like I said earlier, not make any mistakes and avoid chaos at any point on the racetrack. And looks like he's going to get his first win here in Nazareth.
Got none of the laps here in the Glass Mechanic 180. We do have to mention that race sponsor of Glass Mechanic. Glass Mechanic is a family-owned and operated business founded in 1921 with 4 generations of families serving the Phoenix area. Contact Mike at Glass Mechanic with all your home, window, shower, door, and custom glass needs. With over 100 years of experience, there's no window shopping needed. Contact the Glass Mechanic on Instagram or at yourglassmechanic.com. Again, that's yourglassmechanic.com. We want to thank them for being our race sponsor here tonight in our Friday night series on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. And we haven't needed a lot of glass mechanics, Jake. It's been a very clean race. We've had a few incidences. The highlight one would be Keith Bradley and Blake Lothian getting at it for just a little while there. But for a road course, these drivers have done a great job of staying on the course.
Yeah, I mean, they have. And, I think, honestly, Will, I think it's got to do With this is not one of those road courses that's just kind of out there, if you will. I mean, there's road courses, even like Canadian Tire is one of the tracks that comes to mind that's kind of out there, probably because I hate that track. Maybe that's got a little bit to do with it, but I mean, these guys are in a familiar territory, if you will. Obviously, with the backstretch, the high banks of the turns, and then obviously the trioval as well, but. I think that's got a lot to do with it. Is that this track is it's familiar territory, if you will. I mean, it is Daytona after all. Granted, it's a road course, but it's Daytona in general, and I think that's got a lot to do with why it has been clean, like you said, barring some of the accidents that we have had. It's been a very, very clean road course race, and it's just come down to overall speed, if you will. It's just come down to putting down the good lap times, putting down fast lap times, hitting your marks, and that's basically what this race has come down to.
And I'm just getting word up here in the broadcast booth. This is Mike Sargent's first week at Nazareth. And you know what he did on Monday night there, Jake? He won the road course of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park there, leading 48 laps in his very first race here at Nazareth. Wins his first race, cruising into the second race here at his Nazareth career. He's trying to make it go 2 for 2 both at road courses. I think we found our road course ringer, if you will, here at Nazareth.
I believe we have, and and you have them in any series that you look at. You have guys that are basically the road course guys, and Sargent really showing them how to do it here tonight. Obviously, he's opening up that gap over Ted Wade at the line. It was 6.9 seconds. So, I agree 100%. When we go to road courses and you see the name Mike Sargent now. That's a name that you're going to have to automatically uh, put up in the contender area, especially not even for a top five, folks, not for a top 10, top five. This is a guy that's going to contend for wins, not only tonight, but later on in the year and obviously for years to come.
As we see the 41 machine on those high banks, looking good in that cherry red paint scheme. Ted Wade right there in the second spot. Jeff Merck in third. Blake Lothian's now found himself inside the top five in that fourth position. We saw the troubles he had with Keith Bradley that knocked him down the grid. Still pretty fast though on that 43 machine. Ashley Dodson, that 88, he had some first lap issues. He's currently inside the top five. Chris Cinnamon in that three. He's in the mix currently right there in sixth. Kyle Hess in seventh. Joey Doucette in eighth. Michael McKinnon in ninth. And Adam Newton is up to 10th. That's our top 10 here with 9 laps to go in the Glass Mechanic 180. And again here, Jake, this is where the meat and potatoes of the battles are to stay inside the top 10.
Yeah, Newton trying to hold on for every little bit that he can right there. As you see, he's going to get a little bit of a draft, if you will, right here from Stephen Gregory. And, that's the cool thing, honestly, about having the Daytona road course, if you will. These guys can use what draft that they can, maybe even try to suck up to one another, especially coming off of turn 2 into turn 3 down the back stretch and going into the chicane, try to use a little bit of draft, maybe even try to pull a slingshot maneuver to try to get into that last chicane. But Newton doing a very good job as we're seeing right here inside the top 10. Been very quiet this evening, Adam Newton has been. Started 13th in 10th now, and looks like he's trying to go for maybe a little bit more as McKinnon's going to get very loose in front of him. Folks, this is where, like Will said, this is where the meat and potatoes is, and this is where the action is at right here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. McKinnon done a great job of being able to save it as Newton's still putting the pressure on him right here for ninth.
Yeah, Michael McKinnon's trying to hold on to that spot. Adam Newton's right there. Stephen Gregory will be our 10th truck in the mix. Actually, he's in 11th, just outside of that top 10. You also see Hunter Parsons in that 25. There's a little bit a ways there from Stephen Gregory in that 51 machine. The 61 of Stephen Gregory, has some racing stripes on the side of that truck. You see Justin Lumpkins back there in the 13th spot. Ed Osborne, we haven't called out his name at all here with 8 laps to go. And We look at all of this, Jake. These guys are just trying to crack inside the top 10, trying to get a good finish. Meanwhile, Mike Sargent's trying to figure out which bar or which restaurant to hit up outside of Daytona after this race, because with 8 laps to go, he has an 8-second lead.
Yeah, he is trying to figure it out, and maybe he might be the one buying at the bar here tonight. To be honest with you, Mike Sargent putting together a very good race right here. Had a little bit of a mishap back here in the chicane on the backstretch. Michael McKinnon slips around just a little bit, was battling right there with Adam Newton. So McKinnon able to get that truck back under him and get back going. But yeah, and going back to Sargent, I mean, he's just on cruise control right now. I mean, he's basically making this his house here tonight at the Daytona Road Course. You've seen Sargent gas it up right there to get over there to where turn one is. Wade's just now getting to turn one. That's how much of the gap is. And I mean, he's got it lined up right now. I just hope he's buying here tonight.
Exactly. About a second difference in those lap times each time by between the 32 machine of Ted Wade and the 41 of Mike Sargent. And for that 41, we've mentioned a few times here tonight, is really just laying the law, just kind of give us a master class on how to take on the Daytona road course. And folks, if you want to know how to get it done, just watch what that 43 has done here tonight. And in the concerns of police survivors truck series, this is a Friday night series here at Nazareth. We also have a Monday night series. There, the simracerhub.com truck series. We have our Hot Lap podcast as well, Jake. And you talked about the King of Daytona races we got going on. We got so many things happening here at Nazareth. And right now, and we've talked about those rookies. We talked about Blake Lothian, Keith Bradley, everything going on. And I just love this time of the season where everything just starts to lock into place. We have championship races in our Monday night series, and we're almost to the halfway point of this Concerns of Police Survivor Truck series as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the season moves along very, very quickly. Believe it or not, it seems like every single time that I wake up in the morning, it's Friday, and we're getting ready for the Cops Truck Series. It just seems like everything's just moving very, very quickly, and that's got to be in some of these drivers' minds here on Friday night in the Friday night series, that everything's just going so quickly that you got to find your footing. You got to find your pace to be able to start capitalizing and getting those stage points. Obviously, for the Monday night series, these guys getting ready for some championship racing right after Monday night as they get through the Hellacious race at Daytona that, once again, I'm going to be a part of, and God help me for that. But then, it seems like you got the Daytona Road Course race tonight. Then you got Daytona for the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series Monday night. And then that Thursday following that, you got dual race number 2 at Daytona. I'm telling you, we're going to be down here on the beach right next to the ocean. It's going to be awesome for the next 3 races that we're going to have here at Daytona. As we see Lothian, looks like he's off the pace here on your screen. But, I mean, I'm telling you right now, better kick back, get you a cold beer, and just sit in the sand, because we're going to be in Daytona for the next couple of weeks here on Nazareth.
Absolutely. Daytona Beach, also the home to Buc-ee's. Got a chance to go to Buc-ee's for the first time here on that road trip that I took last week. And if you haven't gone to Buc-ee's, go ahead and do it at least once there, Jake. That's just inside Daytona Beach as well. 6 laps to go, though. I know one guy who hasn't bucked off the lead yet. That's Mike Sargent in that 41, who just continues to just whip it around this course here tonight. Up to 9 seconds at the top of the grid. And Jake, this has to be some sort of record on our third place machine of Jeff Merck. He holds a 40-second lead on third place.
Yeah, I mean, big time moves right here. With Sargent. I mean, he's just putting down some serious lap times, putting down a serious gap. I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is just straight up domination, if you will, right here with Mike Sargent. Just awesome to see this right here. I'm curious to see kind of what happened right there with Jeff Merck. Maybe he had a little bit of contact with Lothian when Lothian got around. May have to check on that, try to get a replay on that. But I mean, wow. I mean, Sargent really just showing them how to do it here at the Daytona Road Course.
I'll take a look at and see here with 6 laps to go. Sargent in that 41, Ted Wade in that 32, Jeff Merck in that 60. Now, with 6 laps to go here in the Glass Mechanics 180, we'll step aside for a short break, our last break of the evening. We'll be right back with the conclusion here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Nazareth 360 Racing Network. Myself, William Tiller, Jake Reeves up here in the booth with me. I'm coming off a week of vacation. I missed the last couple weeks here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series, and I've come back to sheer domination from a guy whose first week here, as we see a truck sliding off the course, first week in Nazareth, he wins at the Canadian Motorsports Park there on Monday night. Here tonight, Jake and the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series trying to go 2 for 2 in the same week. Here, winning at the Daytona Road Course, and he is in great shape to do so with an over a 10.5 second lead.
Absolutely. Welcome to Nazareth Mike Sargent. Big time moves right here with this 41. Like you said, winning, Monday night at the Canadian Motorsports Park, or excuse me, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and then coming out here in just dominating fashion. I mean, over a 10-second lead over Ted Wade. It's hard to, get away, I guess you could say, from the dominance that this 41 has done tonight. Like I say all the time, barring something crazy happening, Sargent's got this bad boy in the bag. But, to be honest with you, Will, I think he doesn't want me to talk about him that much because we've seen this commentator curse with me, obviously with Ashley Dodson and all this going on. I'm sure he just don't want me to talk about him. But at this point, I mean, hell, even if he spins it out on his own, I still think he's got this thing in the bag.
Oh, yeah, he could park for a hot dog, get him a Gatorade, some peanuts, everything and above from the concession stands, and still have enough time to get that thing back into gear. And that's no offense to the rest of the field. It's just been just a very, very clean race out of the 41. He strategized perfectly through those pit stops as well. We haven't had any breaks in the action other than the one caution flag that flew at the end of stage number 2. So once the field came back together there, Jake, he had to work his way up there, get around the 43 truck of Blake Lothian. Keith Bradley was up there as well. And once that 41 got up to the top, started to separate, started to soar, if you will, he's just checked out. And I think I started to see it there at the end of stage number 2. He was in third, but his lap times didn't say third to me. It said the top of the grid. And he's been there ever since that stage 2 break.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, Sargent's just, I mean, like I said, he's just rolling right here on the field, and folks, coming into this race, Sargent's got a pretty good I rating, I guess you could say, for a road license, actually at a 2200 oval I rating, or excuse me, road I rating, if you will. So I mean, seeing that, you got to look at it and go, well, it just kind of missed us just a little bit, I guess you could say, for the pre-race. Because usually we don't look at I ratings coming into races, but with a 2200 I rating coming in tonight, hell, his is bigger than mine. So I mean, he's just putting it on him. But at the same time, even though that I rating's high, you still got to be able to make it through the race. It's a long race, 50 laps on this road course that's 3.5 miles long. Uh, you got to have the endurance to be able to pull it off. You got to be able to not make any mistakes for 50 laps. So he's doing an awesome job of that, and he's growing that lead. It seems like every single lap right here with 3 laps to go.
Counting down with 3 laps to go here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. And we talked about that Hard Luck Award winner, Jake, to start off this race. We'll see who gets that award coming off the road course. I'm sure there'll be some nominees there, but of course, that's sponsored by our very own Flieger Farm Paint Shop there. If you want a custom paint scheme, you want somebody that you can work with personally, why don't you go check them out at Flieger Farm Paint Shop. You get a free scheme the first time customer there, Jake. I don't know if anybody that'll give you a free scheme the first time, but go contact Adam at Flieger Farm Paint Shop today. Get that free paint scheme out of the way. Take all the stress out of those paints here in IR Racing. And once again, we want to thank them for being our Hard Luck Award winner. I'm curious to see who gets it after this week.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of guys, that could possibly get it, from what I'm seeing. Phil Pappas started the race 8th. He's going to finish 24th here tonight. It's 28 laps down. It could be that driver, with Phil Pappas, or maybe even be the animal, Keith Bradley. Started 21st. He's still, looking 13th, the first truck 1 lap down, but with what we saw on the racetrack with him and Blake Lothian, kind of wouldn't be surprised to see that Hard Luck Award because, he got a black flag, with all of it going on, with all the contact and everything else, and that's what put him that 1 lap down. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get it. Phil Pappas obviously started high down on the bottom. You got 2 candidates right there, honestly, Will, that could get it. Here this evening. But there's a couple of guys that started up closer to the front that they're finishing in the back as well.
Yeah, some guys are going to wish they had better nights. We talked about how this race is sort of playing out. If you can finish inside the top 10 or the top 5, you've basically taken home a checkered flag, especially with the speed of Mike Sargent and these guys that are on the podium. They've done everything they can to stay on the podium right there with the likes of Ted Wade and Jeff Merck, who have fought off Blake Lothian and Keith Bradley to get on those podium spots. And for Ted Wade, currently 10 seconds behind our race leader, and there's about a 33-second gap between him and our third place truck. For the next couple of laps, you can kind of breathe in this race, Jake. You're not going to win the race. You're going to finish on the podium, though. Just going to feel like a good day at the office there for the 32.
Yeah, and he's got to duck and dodge just a little bit right there. Had a little bit of an incident right there in front of him, able to keep it clean and keep his truck away from that. So he's still got 1 more lap to try to keep that number 32 clean as he can. But yeah, I mean, good run by Ted Wade, Merck as well, and Ashley Dodson rebounding from the first lap incident that he got. He's going to get him a top 5 out of this if he can just hold on for 1 more lap. But, Will, we can't talk enough about this 41. I mean, now he's up to 11 and a half seconds, just absolutely waxing the field, if you will, as here he goes through one of the hairpin turns on the infield. Hit this last hairpin turn before he gets out and hits these 2 chicanes, if you will, and he's going to be 2 for 2, as you was talking about, Will.
Yeah, maybe we can ride on board with the 41 machine through these last couple of chicanes just to see what his point of view is. Ride on board with Mike Sargent, who looks to be our clear race winner here on the final lap. We'll give you this onboard shot here on the NASCAR 360 Racing Network. He comes through the last set of chicanes, one's going to be on the backstretch here. And this is a difficult aspect I talked about here. Jake, he has mastered it, though. Look how clean he takes that entry. No hesitation through that first set. Going to ease that truck back up onto the high banks. The last set of corners here, 3 and 4. And we'll watch from afar as Mike Sargent will come out of the chicanes here. Jake, a master class and the glass mechanic 180. Mike Sargent is going to go back to back in the road courses in Nazareth. He'll take the checkered flag in the Daytona road course here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series.
Absolutely domination right here by this 41. I mean, honestly, Will, I don't think I've ever seen, you know, that big of a domination, if you will, from anybody. I mean, 12 seconds over second place and 43 seconds over Jeff Merck. Some of these guys still just trying to get around the track, if you will. Merck's still on the racetrack, still racing for his position. That's how far Sargent is still. I mean, that's how far the gap was. Merck now finally going through the chicane. He's going to get third. Dodson's now just coming off of turn 4. He's going to try to see if he can get himself lined up and go ahead and get this fourth place spot. And how about Kyle Hess right behind Dodson? They're actually closing in. Dodson's going to get out of gas, I believe. Here comes Kyle Hess around the outside. Dodson may have ran out of gas coming to the line. Kyle Hess will get fourth. Dodson's got fifth. But here comes Newton. Newton's going to go around. He's going to get fifth. Here comes
Oh,
Lothian around.
man.
Wow, Dodson's going to lose a lot of spots right here. Coasting. Got the
Oh.
clutch in, coasting. Everybody going by Dodson right now.
Yeah, and it looks like if he can just keep it moving there to the start finish line, Ashley Dotson will round our top 10, barely coasting across that start finish line. You saw Steven Gregory go by him there as we watch a few more competitors end their race. What a road course victory it is for the 41 machine of Mike Sargent. We talked about what he did on Monday night, winning the road course there in the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. Now, here tonight, in only his second start in Nazareth, he's going to win the Glass Mechanics 180. And boy, as you touched on it, Jake's going to do it in dominating fashion, winning this race by over 10 seconds. And folks, you might think 10 seconds, that's not a lot. I've seen bigger wins at a road course. Well, folks, this race had over 25 entries in it. So to do it with that many drivers is quite a feat, and he's going to burn it down on the front stretch.
Awesome burnouts right here by Mike Sargent, and well deserved for that for that number 41 entry, getting the win here tonight at Daytona. And boy, I'm telling you, he is donating it up here at Daytona. Honestly, Will, I don't think he's got to worry about that old saying with, Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson cracking the back end of the car to make it past Tech. I think some of the race controllers, some of the race directors might be looking at that truck after this race and just seeing if it passes Tech as clean as it is, to be honest with you. But Sargent getting a very, very well-deserved win here tonight.
Absolutely, and hats off to Sargent. He had to wait for the rest of the field to cross the start finish line. That included Ted Wade, he'll come home second. Jeff Merck is going to finish third. Kyle Hess fourth. Adam Newton will finish inside the top 5. Blake Lothian, that 43 truck, is going to work through some issues he had with Keith Bradley there towards the end. He's going to finish 6th. Joey Doucette, the Joker, is going to finish 7th. Chris Cinnamon, with a huge run there at the end, is going to finish 8th. Stephen Gregory 9th, and rounding out our top 10, you saw right there at the start finish line, Ashley Dawson at 88.
Last truck that's going to be on the lead lap here tonight is Justin Lumpkin. He'll get 11th. Keith Bradley, one lap down, had that confrontation, if you will, with Blake Lothian. He's going to be 12th. First truck, one lap down. Michael McKinnon will be 13th with Ed Osborne 14th. Dana Shepard will be 15th. Cody Knott 16th. Zach Hartwick will be 17th. Eric Zimmerman will be 18th. Hunter Parsons, saw him up front, running very, very well or for a good portion of this race. He's going to finish 6 laps down 19th, and Justin White will finish 20th.
Yeah, very interesting storyline there. You see Robbie Richards going to finish 21st, Chris Blanchard 22nd, James D. Morris there 23rd. He might be able to go back to back with those Hard Luck Award winners as he's going to finish 13 spots to the bad from a starting position. Phil Pappas in the 85 machine going to finish 24th, Jeff Sickles 25th, and Huck Whittington will round out our field here tonight. Without further ado, Jake, let's get right to it. Let's talk to the winner of the Glass Mechanic 180. That's the 41 machine of Mike Sargent, who'll go back to back with road course victories here at Nazareth. Mike, we just saw you up at the top looking like Mr. Calm, Cool, and Collected. You win this race by 10 seconds. How'd you get the job done here tonight?
Thanks, Will. First, hello to everybody watching at home. Thanks for spending your evening with us. Yeah, this race was really, really incredible. The Beaver Block sponsor, Chevrolet, was super quick. I was really lucky to miss out on the Mayhem Turn 1. I know the 88 had tons of speed. After that, I was just stuck behind Ted. I just overcooked the rears fighting with him. Blake got around me. Luckily, there's no big incident after that. The second stage was a lot of fuel saving. I wanted to make sure that I had the freshest tires possible for the third stage, and then once again, Ted forced me into boxing a little bit earlier than I wanted to, and then from the end, it was just a straight fight, and luckily we had the pace to match them.
We talk about how this is only your second race here at Nazareth. Was there any extra pressure, seeing as though it's only your second start, or did some of that road course experience kind of take that pressure away?
Honestly, I was not expecting to be sitting here talking to you again tonight. I came in here with no expectations. I just wanted to come in and race as hard as I can. I know this league has a lot of really good competitors, and yeah, it's just a blessing.
And Mike, as we watch you move forward here in this league, we saw you there at the road courses. Will we see you at all here, either in the Monday night series or Friday night series moving forward?
Potentially next season. Obviously, I didn't hit the minimum participation to be eligible to run in the playoffs, so you won't be seeing me for the rest of the season. But I'll definitely be around at some point next season.
There we go, the driver of the 41 machine, Mike Sargent. And Mike, before we let you go, is there anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors you wanted to thank for putting you in victory lane here tonight?
Just a big shout out to the team at Beaver Block. We did a lot of work figuring out field numbers, and that was very appreciated. Again, shout out to sponsor us, my fake brand, just to let everybody know that there's advertisement space available on the truck. And thanks to you, Will, for your sitting here commentating and putting on a good show.
Awesome, man. Well, it wouldn't be a good show without good driving, and you definitely put forth that here tonight. The winner of the Glass Mechanic 180, Mr. Mike Sargent. We appreciate my man. Congratulations.
Thanks, everybody.
That was Mike Sargent, our race winner here, Jake. But you're catching up with a guy who's very comfortable in the podium all race long. That's the driver of the 32, Ted Wade.
Yeah, Ted Wade, this is Jake Reeves. You got a copy, buddy?
I sure do, man.
Well, Bud, I'm telling you, I mean, you look like you got the pole here this evening. Still get second. Obviously wanted one more spot to be able to get this bad boy done here tonight. But just tell us about your race, Bud.
Oh man, it wasn't too bad. Burned my stuff up there early on that first run, and me and Mike battling it out there pretty hard. And, Blake ended up getting around, and man, once Mike got out front, unless he made a mistake, there wasn't much catching him tonight.
Well, man, I'm telling you right now, I mean, you put on a hell of a show to be able to get that second spot. But just tell everybody, about Daytona, if you will. I mean, granted, we see the super speedway aspect of it, But granted, we see Daytona, we think of Daytona, we think of the super speedway aspect of it. Just tell us about the road course mentality, I guess you could say, because it looks like, granted, Sargent, one of the, I guess you could say, road course ringers, but it looks like you might be one of these road course ringers that we might have to look out for later on in this season.
Yeah, man. Daytona here, it's very unique. It's very fast straightaways. You're coming into these tight corners, hard braking. You're going from the banking to flat, and that's what really throws you for a loop, man. You really burn the rear tires up. You got to be easy on the throttle here. It's bumpy, flat, old surface. It's different than anything else you'll race on the schedule. But yeah, I'm only running part time, man. I might run another road course race or two. I've got a few in my pocket from a few seasons ago. I've won, and I'm usually pretty decent at them. But there's maybe 5 or 6 of us here that are usually very competitive when it comes to the road courses.
Absolutely. And Ted Way, you are one of those drivers getting up here, getting that second spot. Got the pole, one spot short, but still gets a good finish on the podium. Ted Way, before we let you go, do you got anybody that you want to thank that made this possible here tonight?
Yeah, man. Like give a big shout out to John Hedrick at Over the Top Designs. Blanchard's Towing and Recovery. I don't even know what else is on this truck. I haven't been up here for a while. Looks like we got Warrior Wraps, the Pulse Poppers, uh, everybody over here at Nazra, 360 Racing Network here. Dan's Top Notch Heating and Cooling. He's back with us again for another season. Just thank everybody at Upfront Motorsports. It's been a pretty good year so far.
Awesome. Well, Ted Wade, actually, I was sitting here looking at some of the previous laps that you ran. Good job getting around the 29 and the 43 on lap 26, being able to clear around all the melee that was going on or going on behind you. But congratulations on your second place finish, buddy.
Thanks, man.
That was Ted Wade getting second here this evening. Awesome run by the number 32. But Will, have you caught up with I guess you could say the rookie that's really turning some heads, if you will, here on the C.O.P.S Truck Series? That's Mr. Jeff Mert.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, Jake, we've got his name down pat now. Jeff Merck there with the third place spot. Another one of those drivers that lingered inside the top three. And Jeff, the amount of podium finishes you have and in your performances in these races, I'm surprised we haven't got your name down pat up until this point. But Jeff, you come home third here. It's another solid run for that 60.
Yeah, I mean, if a race official would have come up to me and said, "You don't have to run a lap, and we'll give you third place," I said, "All right, boys, put it back on the truck. We're going home." I am absolutely horrible at road courses. I don't think Ashley's real happy about that first lap incident there, but I mean, if I screwed up, I apologize. So, I mean, we both went out through the grass, so I don't know what to tell him, but that's part of racing sometimes. So, take your lumps and we'll move on to the next track.
Yeah, we've talked about sort of how you rookies have made a splash here. We just had a rookie win the road course here tonight. And let's talk about your performance here so far this season. Very consistent, another podium finish here tonight. You talked about how this is not one of your fortes, if you will. But Jeff, what can you look back on that's really given you success this season?
I'm not. Luck is part of it. Skill is part of it. Tracks. I'm really good at Iowa. That's the place I won. I just put in a lot of real hard practice tonight before the race, and it paid off. I came in. I was expecting to run in the mid pack the whole race, and I just worked at it. Ted helped me out a lot tonight, so I'd like to thank Ted for giving me some pointers on how to get faster. I mean, wasn't even going to send the wife the link to watch the race, and I was like fourth on the speed chart. I was like, you know what? I might have to send her the link. I might actually do better than I thought, and I will take a third place all night long. The over-the-top designs, a Ford F-150, Blanchard's Towing, C.O.P.S, Nazra, Dan's top-notch heating and cooling. Ford F-150 was really good tonight. It had a couple of moments. I'd like to apologize to Ashley because he he did tell me that I ran out of talent in the Discord. So if it was my fault, I do apologize. Ashley, you owe me one. So I don't know where we're going to next week, but I will take a third place tonight for sure.
We sort of talked about it up here in the booth, a little give and take between the drivers. We saw another big blowout between Blake Lothian, the 43 truck, and Keith Bradley, the 29. For you guys, though, this just means a little bit of a juice hitting into the next week. Just means, Jeff, you must be doing something right there on the racetrack. But for both of you guys, able to overcome and finish just inside the top 5. And Jeff, before we let you go, with this podium finish here tonight, is there anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors that helped you get on the podium here tonight?
Yeah, first and foremost, I don't know if she's watching or not. My loving wife, Dawn, inside there, for letting me doing this as my hobby. She probably lets me do it a lot more than she should, but she knows this is kind of my stress reliever to come out here and just kind of unwind and do a little competitive racing. Got to thank her first and foremost. Love you if you are watching. If not, I'll come in and tell you I finished third. Over the top designs, John Hendrick. He always does a great job on these paints. He painted this Ford F-150. Blanchard's Towing, Northeast. Give him a call if you're stuck out in the snow or whatever. He'll come hook you up and get you home safe. C.O.P.S. Cops, Nazra, 360 Broadcasting. You guys always look forward to going back and watching the broadcast. Ford F-150, Daytona Road Course for having us. I think that's everybody.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. Great job on that third place finish, and we look forward to more action out of that 60 next week.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Hey, what are y'all's names that week? I'll try to remember it next week.
Let's see. Next week, Jake.
Rockingham.
Yep, that's it.
No, I meant y'all's names, the broadcasters. Jake and what's your name? With Jake and Will.
Will. Yep.
All right.
You got
I'll try to remember that for next time.
No problem. That's Jeff Merck there in that 60. We've got it down pat now, Jeff, but we appreciate it, my man. Have a great night.
All right, bye-bye now.
That was Jeff Merck in that 60 machine coming home third. And Jake, we're going to get that name down pat here the rest of the way because he continues that run of podium finishes. But it was the Mike Sargent night here. Absolute domination, winning this race by 10 seconds. Any final thoughts before we continue this Daytona run we have going on at Nazareth?
Well, I mean, we've seen it all tonight. I mean, really, I mean, we seen it all. I mean, we seen, domination, from Mike Sargent come out here. We seen a lot of strategy play out, and believe it or not, we actually seen a fight, if you will. I mean, honestly, we've seen a fight, obviously, with Blake Lothian and Keith Bradley. It's going to be very intriguing to see that, what happens out of it, or see if there's any penalties, if you will, that come out of that. I'm actually very intrigued to see, what is said. I might even go find out here in a minute because I'll be honest with you, I was looking at some of the replays about it. I would love to see how this right here plays out because it's not often that you see the animal Keith Bradley just, straight up do something like he did, with Blake Lothian. So there's going to be some hot tempers over this. And this is something that may follow these drivers later on in the season. But, going to Rockingham next week, one of my favorite tracks in general. And one of those tracks that you might actually could see some serious payback for some of these guys that might have roughed one another up, I guess you could say. It's one of those tracks where you can see some payback at.
Absolutely. And for lucky for those two drivers, I don't think both of them race on Monday nights. If so, there'll be some fireworks in that regular season finale in the simracerhub.com Chuck Series. And for tonight, though, it does go to Mike Sargent, who did break to us, though. This might be the last race we see him until next year here in the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series and in our simracerhub.com Truck Series. And watching that contact between the 29 of Keith Bradley and Blake Lothian there. And as you mentioned, Jake, this is going to be a hot topic of discussion heading into next week. As mentioned, these are two top drivers here in this series. But for everybody here on the Friday night series, we want to thank all the sponsors involved, including Concerns of Police Survivors, Flieger Farm Paint Shop, and our race sponsor, Glass Mechanic. Gonna need some Glass Mechanic for that incident there. Through all the craziness of tonight's race, though, it is Mike Sargent with a record setting victory of over 10 seconds on second place here at the road course. Jake just touched on next week's race. Cannot wait to pick up the action next Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, though, tune in to that regular season finale on Monday night, the SimRacerHub.com Truck Series. For myself, William Tiller, Jake Reeves, and Adam Flieger, the man in the box, giving you all the sights and sounds of the Concerns of Police Survivors Truck Series. We want to wish everybody a great night. A special congratulations to Mike Sargent, and we'll see everybody on the track and next week here on the Nazareth 360 Racing Network.